Nice, nice.
It's that time of the
How was
year.
last week?
Huh?
How was last week?
Last week was a good week. Last week was a
Mm-hmm.
good week. A lot of stuff went on last week, but it was a good week. It's kind of interesting sometimes whether the weeks are good or bad. If you kind of, look back at them and process,
Mm-hmm.
you will find good coming out of them, even
Always,
in the
always.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me share.
Absolutely.
Let
So
me.
this evening we're talking about, what are we talking about today? I am an answer.
I am an answer. Oh,
Yeah.
whoa.
That sounds like a juicy topic, Andrea.
It is a real topic, and I think at a time like this when we're so conscious of so many things going wrong, to
Yeah.
get people to shift their their eyes and shift the solution that they're looking for, to shift that to a mirror, you know,
Mm,
and to not
mm.
expect solutions to come from outside of you, but to realize that you are
Yeah,
key
yeah,
to solving the
yeah.
same problems that you're seeing. So that's
You know that thought makes me think of my favorite verse. Um, that says that His divine power has given us everything that we need
for
for
life
life
and godliness. Yes,
and godliness. Like we have everything that we need inside of us to solve
all the
problems.
problems. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. All right. So I'm
So
going
you
on
were
your.
talking about some math. Tell me about the math.
Well, the math. Just double checking. You're seeing your thing online. Have you checked?
No, I haven't.
Guys, are
Um,
you there? Guys, can you see
yes,
us?
I see somebody online.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man, we're here.
All right, awesome. Yeah. So, the math, basic math. Let's get back to primary school. 1 plus 0, Jan, and
Is
viewers. 1 plus 0 gives you what?
zero.
It gives you 0, right? So we're not talking about creative math here. We're talking about the basic math. But when you add 1 plus 1, what do you get?
Two.
You get 2. Well, 1 plus 0 is not equal to 0. You and I are a case and a half. 1
Oh, you
plus.
know that 1 plus 0 is equal to one. I'm sorry. That's what you get for doing more than one thing at a time. Clearly, multitasking at this time is not my thing.
So 1 plus 0 is equal to 1. But 1 plus
Okay.
1 is equal to
Yeah.
2. The difference between 1 and 2 is 1. And it makes
Yeah.
a difference. If
Huge
you
difference.
if you are talking about getting a reward, a return, or a benefit from something, you would want to have one more rather than one less. So
Yeah.
the one makes a difference. And the reason why I use that as an example is for us to recognize that every one person has an important part to play in
Mm-hmm.
solving the issues that we have, in making a difference in their communities, in their nations. Every one person counts.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. We are all equally important.
Definitely, we
Yeah.
are. We are all equally important. And we all have a role to play. And that's the interesting thing. We all don't do the same thing because we don't see things the same way. We don't process things the same way. We don't have the same giftings. We don't have the same strengths. And so, no matter how much we're two persons may be seeing the same problem, they're going to see it differently. They're going to
Mm-hmm.
respond to it differently. They're going to approach it differently. And because of that, your contribution becomes a unique contribution. So, somebody
Yeah.
else can't do what you're doing, and you can't do what somebody else is called to do.
Yeah.
So this brings in the I will extend it to say you are the answer, but then other people are also a part of the answer. So you don't get to judge. You don't get to disqualify. You don't get to minimize anyone because everyone has a part to play.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I live by this principle that we all created to serve, right? Um, each one of us, we're never created, it's never about us, and so our lives are never ever about us. Our lives are always about who am I here to serve, right? Your pain today could be the answer to somebody else's problem because you've crossed that bridge already, and somebody who's at the other side needs to hear that you will make it,
Yeah.
and so we're called and to serve each other, and somebody else likewise is called to serve us, and so that's how I think God made it, that everything works together, and so it really is um, necessary for us to work together.
It is. I think the sooner we realize how interconnected and how
Hmm.
interdependent we are as a people by design,
By design.
then we will realize that the bigger problems and the kind of massive solution that we need in the world today requires synergy. It requires unity amongst people. It requires everyone recognizing and choosing to say, I am going to be the answer that I am. And we're doing it together. Um, there is such an amazing power that comes when you are united in heart and mind. Unity
Yeah.
doesn't mean that we are the same. It just
No.
means that we have the same goal. We have a set of principles that we adhere to, that is good for the community. Um, and so we walk in agreement with certain things. But it doesn't require us to be the same. We don't have to necessarily reason out things the same. We don't have to see in terms of solutions in the same way, but we have to see the common problem and we have to recognize that we are a part of the solution.
It's actually important for us not to see the same solutions, eh?
It is actually important because we also check and balance each other.
Yeah, and
And
not
there,
only that, I mean, that creates a limitless possibility of what could be, versus if you had one straight way of thinking, it's almost like you're limited,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and so we have all of these people with all these different ideas. Um, it's not always, it's definitely not always the same, and that's what makes things interesting. All the different um, ideas, and especially as you say, if you are all aligned to the same principles, the same goal, the same direction. Um, Most teams, if you look at team sports, when they're all aligned and everybody is going in the same direction, those teams become unstoppable.
yeah, yeah. There's also an interesting thing that is designed in the principle of unity and oneness. And I
Yeah.
think you mentioned the fact that because we don't see everything the same way, we also don't see the complete picture as an
Mm,
individual.
yeah.
And so the complete and effective solution automatically requires more than one of us to be a part of the process. And so
Yeah.
you can't do it without the other person. That's the interconnectivity and the interdependence that we talk about. You just can't because you're only seeing a portion. You see in part,
Yeah.
and so because you see in part, you're only going to zoom in on your part, but you have to recognize that there is a bigger picture, and to really solve that bigger picture and the bigger problem, you actually need everybody to play their part.
I think if I think about it, I think when I was growing up, one of the things that I think was celebrated is this whole independence. You do this thing and you're alone and you are the one and that kind of thing. I think now, certainly with the younger generation, it's shifted to a more collaborative approach of we can work together to achieve. We can bring, everybody has to say, has different ideas and solutions, and we can work together. It's really, really important that we don't um, jump on this individual, this independent bandwagon.
It doesn't
Yeah,
work.
it doesn't work.
If you look over the course of life and the world, everybody who goes on a selfish agenda ends up hurting the human race. The
Yeah,
minute you take that me approach, that's danger, because we are designed to be a we people. And the lie that we've fallen into, and I think we've said this before, is that we don't recognize that we includes me. So you really don't need to trump. You don't need to defend. You don't need to be fighting for you. What you need to be fighting is for we, because you are also going to be addressed in the we. But the minute you take that me approach, the my solution, the my way, my legacy, my reputation, my accolades. The minute you
yeah,
do that, you become selfish. And when you become selfish, it means that you're going to do something that's going to hurt others. And it is not going to be for the greater good.
yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that is huge in, I guess, corporate world, where everybody, there's a, to use the Jamaican term, crab in a barrel. Unless there's a culture that's crafted to be inclusive and collaborative, what you find is this really distasteful thing of everybody trying to one up the other and that kind of thing, and it,
Yeah.
it creates it creates a really um, distasteful environment to work in. But I have to challenge our viewers, that you are an answer, and if you can create a vision where everybody is an answer, and it starts with you because you're the only person you have control over.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
so, what I don't like from others, then I don't do it. I don't do it. If I start from that position, then my hope is that others will follow. You know, but it starts with us, because we are the ones who have control over ourselves. So if we see something and we join in, then we are a part of the problem too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we spoke about culture couple
Yeah,
sessions ago, and
right.
and even the whole thing about nurturing. We looked at culture, nurturing, and something else. Um, but because we're in a society, we're influencing each other. What you find is that we're practicing, and it continues. The things that that have not been good for us as a people continues, because one, the older generation is not picking up the mess and intentionally correcting it for the next generation.
Yeah.
But God has an amazing way of causing the next generation to recognize the foolishness, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the danger of it is that they, in trying to correct the foolishness, tend to
Oh,
overcompensate. So it
overcompensate.
goes to the
Yeah,
next extreme.
exactly.
But if we had that we mentality, Jan, if we
Yeah.
recognize that what is good and best for me is what is good and best for everybody,
Oh, everybody,
then
right.
we would have designed to ensure that what we pass from generation to generation will be the things that they need to learn. We will be telling them how to balance, how to stay in harmony, how to find that place of productivity, that place of goodness and kindness and well-being that is for the interest of everyone. But when we are for ourselves, when we are only focusing on what we are doing and what we want, then we don't pass on.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
that word harmony, it's a word that you don't hear a lot these days. This whole thing of working in harmony. And harmony says, as you said, it's we. and that we includes me. So it means that um, we have to be intentional about it. We spoke about legacy, creating a legacy. And I don't think many people think of their lives in that way in terms of what legacy am I creating? And the truth is, legacy, like culture, you create it whether or not you're intentional about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, you create a legacy whether or not you're intentional about it. So if you're selfish, you've created a legacy of selfishness.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you're inclusive and if you're collaborative or you're somebody who focuses on harmony, then you've created a legacy. You know,
Correct,
um,
correct.
so whether or not you're intentional, you create a legacy.
You do, and it's one of the reasons why now we have to stop. Like we really, really need to stop
Hmm.
now and just decide. We can't change
Yeah.
the past. We spoke about this again a couple weeks
Right.
ago. We can't change the past. We can't jump into the future and fix things. We only have now. And it is
Now.
now that we need to stop and say, you know what? I'm gonna change what I'm doing. Doesn't work. It has never worked for years. Look at where we are now as a people. Sure, some things have advanced, but in terms of quality of life,
Hmm.
we're not improving. As the
No.
world, we're not improving.
Yeah.
And so we kind of have to stop. And we're saying it generally, but people need to recognize it's an individual response. So you, in your own space, have to stop and say, what do I need to do now to improve the situation? What do I need to do now to be the answer that I'm called to be? What do I need to change now to ensure that my decisions, my responses are driven from a we basis and not a me basis? How do I
Yeah.
cauterize this downhill decline in the quality of life of people?
Yeah. And this whole thing of I am an answer again is is this whole thing of just taking responsibility.
It
We
is
we have, we have to take responsibility.
personal
And
responsibility.
yeah, we have to take personal responsibility. One of the things that we're really good at is we're good at veranda fixing up things. So we sit on our veranda and says, "You over there, you need to do that. You're not doing this, and you're." But
Yeah.
say if every Jamaican were to take responsibility and says, "I am the answer to crime. I am the answer to whatever else that exists. I am the answer. What can I do in my sphere that is going to make a difference? Is it that I'm going to see something and say something? Is it that I'm going to stop and extend a helping hand? Is it that? Is it? I mean, we think of it in huge, big terms, but a lot of times all it takes is one little thing. And if
Yeah.
everybody does one little thing, can you imagine what the outcome
Could
would
be.
be?
And
Yeah,
for believers, especially, sometimes that one little thing is prayer.
yeah.
Not turning a blind eye, but deciding that, first of all, recognizing something is wrong here. And this
Hmm.
is not what God has ordained for humanity. And I'm going to play my part because the Bible says, if my people, the Bible never say
Hmm.
if the people them, if the world, it says if my
Yeah.
people, and that would be the children of God, who are
Hmm.
called by my name, will humble themselves and pray, will turn from their wicked ways and seek his face, then he will heal. He will stay from heaven and he will heal the land. So
Yeah.
we are actually the ones to bring the solution by us repenting,
Yeah.
by us confessing, by us cleaning
Mm.
up our act.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a thought or a philosophy that I've heard. It's like we're waiting on God to do something, wave the magic wand, and we change. No, we have to get up and change it. We have to do it. We have to try. We have to get up and because faith without works is dead. There you go.
Yeah, yeah. Faith without works is dead.
Yeah.
But
You need to take some action. We are responsible, so we have to take an action. So whether it is being kinder, as simple as being kind, you know, being kind to somebody in terms of how you respond to people.
yeah, yeah. I think you quoted, you referred to a verse when you were starting. His divine power has given us
Giving
everything
us
we need
everything. Yeah.
for life and godliness. Given. It never says his
Yeah.
divine power is
It's
giving.
going,
It
it's
has
going to give
given,
us.
which means we already
Yeah.
have it. And
Right.
when Jesus was on the cross, he said, "It is finished." It means that we already have all that we
Yes.
need for life and godliness. We don't need to wait on something to happen. We just need to do what God has said we are to do. And the Bible
Right.
outlines that very clearly, what we're
Very
supposed to
clearly.
do, how we're supposed to live, the fact that our lights are supposed to shine, the fact that we're supposed to be the salt of the earth, the light of the world. So we already have the solution, and it really comes back to I am an answer, and together we are the answer. We are the answer. So there is another part I want to mention. With all of what is happening in life, there are lots of things that hurt us, cause pains, a lot of things we're disgusted by. I have come to the realization that we see things, Jan, because we're supposed to do something about it.
Mm.
If you see it, if you can recognize it as a problem or an issue, it means there's a role for you to play. That's a rule. If you can feel the pain, if you can experience what somebody else goes through, whether it is even a sickness or a circumstance, an event that has happened in your life, something unfortunate, once you can feel it, it means that there is a purpose in that, and you are called, one, to get real. So get off of the high horse, get real. I am feeling the pain just like you. Let's see how we can solve it. So we
Yeah.
see and we feel because we are supposed to do something about it. So anything that you can recognize, anything that you can spot, there is something for you to do. And the question now we need to ask instead of complaining is, how am I supposed to be the answer? And you can ask God, how do you want me to be a part of this solution? What do you
Hmm.
want me to do now?
Right. There are so many problems that are out there that um, people have created solutions from. They've formed businesses, they've done all sorts of nonprofits, that kind of thing, because it's something that really touched them. So it's a problem that, as you said, they literally feel the pain. When
Yes.
you think of these guys who, I read a story about these guys who they're from the States, but they end up in some Far East country um, getting clean water for people. They saw it, it hurt their hearts, and they decided, I am an answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so many things, so many products that came about because someone decided that, hey, I am an answer.
Absolutely. And it
You know,
came out of something usually unfortunate.
yeah, well, sometimes it does, but sometimes it just comes out of a frustrating situation.
Yeah.
Um, right? I mean, one thing that comes to mind, one person that comes to mind is Joan Duncan from the JMB group, who she started the group, and her pain is having worked in the banking sector. She saw where people were earning little and nothing on their savings, and she decided that no, it doesn't, because she understood the workings of the market. And she said, no, but there is a solution. And for 13 years, she approached several different institutions. And for 13 years, she held on to that dream of opening up the money market to the ordinary person so that they could actually earn on that their money could work for
Yeah.
them, in
Yeah.
other words.
Yeah. Or they have
And it was something
access.
that, yeah, it's something that she was so passionate about that 13 years, she did not stop until she found someone who believed in the idea, believed in her, and they ran with it. And look at Jim and me.
Look at them now.
look at them
Look at
now.
JMB now. Yes,
There's a
yes.
question I think we all need to ask ourselves: what is it that hurts our heart? That we see it and we say, "Boy, that's really painful," but that's not my
Or that's
problem.
wrong. That's really
Or that's
wrong.
wrong.
Yeah.
They go, but that's not my problem. It is our problem.
Once you see it, once you feel it, it's your
Yeah,
problem.
it's your problem. It's
it's
your problem to solve. And
it's
the
your problem.
beautiful thing about it is that there is no one answer.
Right.
So we all fix a little part of the problem. We all fix a little part of the problem. And so that is how industries are created. That is how it's even like when you think about the tourism sector. Look at how many different parts there are to the tourism sector. It's kind of the same thing where you have a problem. So there's this side of the problem, that side of the problem, and everybody takes a part
Yeah. Right.
and solves that problem. We are an answer.
We are each an answer.
Yep.
Um, we spoke about Gem and B, but it just dawned on me. But even what we're doing, Jan,
Yeah.
right? You shared your story in a previous session, and the fact that you had a rough experience in your business when you initially started, and you decided, no, one, it didn't have to be this way. I now, in hindsight, realize all the blunders I've made, and then two, I don't want anybody else to make this mistake.
Yep.
And now you've given your life to entrepreneurs, to serving them as a result of having that experience. It's similar with me, right? This was not my plan. This was not my intention on a vision board. But then I went through a journey in my own life of decline, and right, and then lifted up by God's grace, and then recognize, hold on, but there's so many people around me too that go through the same thing. And one of the things that I recognized when I was in need, I couldn't find, and they were there, but I couldn't see them readily. I couldn't find all the answers I needed,
Mm-hmm.
or I couldn't hear it in the most simplest way that I could comprehend and apply to my life. And now my life is geared towards helping persons who find themselves there, helping persons who get to that place of being lost, frustrated. Like, those are the best people for me. When you reach that place where you say, no, something has to give, that's my best client, because that's somebody who's ready for change. And those are the people I'm going out there for. That's
Yeah.
because we decided that we are an answer to the
Right.
problems that we saw, experienced, and felt for ourselves.
Right.
And if
Those
each
are
person
actually, in
does
my
that,
mind, the most powerful thing because you can literally walk in somebody else's shoe and understand what their pain is and understand, all the things that are going on because you walked that road of it already.
yeah,
And that's great for them too because they're looking at you and say, oh, well, you made it to the other side. So if there's a huge
or,
possibility I can
or
get
you're
to the
making
other
it to
side,
the other side, you
or
are
you're
making
making it to the
progress.
other side. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And and sometimes people tend to, feel ashamed about their experiences, especially if they are bad experiences. But no pain is wasted. None of it. There are things that I speak freely about now, but in the time when I was experiencing it, it
not
was
talk
the
about
most.
it.
Oh my word! It was the worst thing ever, and
I
I wish I could
know.
just crawl into a corner somewhere
Shame,
and just hide. Shame.
embarrass.
But you know what happened? I am I am recognizing that the more I close my mouth, the more I allow people to continue in the pain.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and, and
it's
that's something that
serious.
you have to take responsibility for too.
Yeah, yes,
Because
that's so
when God
true.
God allowed you to go through that situation, what I love about him is that he's seen 10 steps ahead and I say, you know what happened? Janice is going through this now and I'm gonna take her through.
Yeah,
But I can see where Keisha and Andrea and whoever else,
Ramon and David down the line.
yeah,
Yep,
and they're gonna need Janice
they're gonna
because
need it.
Janice
Yes.
yeah, and I would have given her grace. I would have given her solutions. I would have taken her through. And
Mm.
having taken her through, she's stronger.
And
And
can
and,
help
and
someone.
Yes. One of the prayers that I've often prayed is, Lord, there's I think it's in the Psalms where it says, make me brave and stout hearted. And it really hit me, stout hearted.
Yeah.
You know, to be fearless in talking about my experiences, to just freely talk, because when we shut our mouth, other people continue to suffer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And God holds us responsible for that.
And the Bible says that there is nothing new.
Nothing.
Nothing is
Yes.
new. So it's like you feel, and this is how the enemy works and messes with our minds. We feel in the moment that we're the only ones going through something, or that our pain and our experience and our challenge is unique and nobody
Yeah.
can relate to it. And that's not true.
That's not
It
true. You're
absolutely
not
isn't. Not.
alone.
Oh gosh,
You're
it's
not
not true.
alone. You're
And
not
it's for us
alone.
to recognize now, okay, I fell in that trap for sure, right?
Mhm.
But now that I recognize it, what am I going to do differently going forward to help persons who I know will fall into the trap also, right? Because the enemy doesn't change his schemes,
It
right?
doesn't.
He doesn't. They're going to fall in the trap. What am I going to do differently to help people out of it? You
Or
know,
even help people to avoid it.
help people to avoid it.
Yeah.
I mean, not everything needs to be avoided, in that
Yeah.
they too have to go through that reform, that process, that retraining, that
Yeah.
reconditioning, which is painful at times. But
Yeah.
it's not everything
But
that everybody needs
necessary.
to go through.
Yeah. It's not everything.
Not everything.
Really, it's not everything. Or even if you drop in there, you don't have to stay there that long.
Exactly. Exactly. And if you think about it, this beautiful picture, Jan, if each of us were to actually live our lives where what we have learned from our experiences, we're passing it on to someone else, not just the next generation, but the person next to me, the friend,
Mhm.
the person who will cross my path that will go through a similar circumstance. If we are able to share that, they are able to share with others. You recognizing that we're not going to be having the same problems in the world, but
Mhm.
because we're not sharing, we're not helping,
Mhm.
because we don't
Yes.
have a we mentality, what is happening is that we're making the same, people are dropping in the same traps. People are making the same mistakes when there are people who have already gone through it and who have answers to help persons to avoid it.
There's another side to that, Andrea, where persons feel like, oh no, that's your experience. That will never happen to me. And sometimes it's almost like we put on blinders, or we're in denial, and you're watching the path that the person is taking, and you're going, oh my gosh, hey, watch out, watch out, watch out. But the truth is that they won't wake up until they wake up.
Yeah, yeah, which is why I say sometimes you can't, they have to go through some stuff.
Yeah, and I think though one of the things um, that individuals, that all of us can do, is to have a teachable heart, where we admit first and foremost that, look, I don't know everything. Um, I don't know everything. So because I don't know everything, then um, I listen to other people's experiences. Even if I don't take it on, I listen
Yes.
with a view to examining myself. But there's a verse that says, youth is wasted on the young, because foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child, right?
Yes.
So this is almost like we're just so determined. I remember in my 20s, nobody could talk to me. I knew everything.
Yeah, that's how you feel.
Yeah, you feel like you know everything, but you don't.
you don't. And as you said that, and that hasn't changed, because we both have kids. Well,
Yeah,
I have one kid. Big people, very opinionated. They know
very.
what they know. So you know
And
what?
mommy, what you know is old fashioned.
It's
It
old
doesn't apply
fashioned.
anymore.
But you know what? We still have the responsibility, Jan. If we
Mm.
know that we were like that, it means that when we're dealing with our kids and we're dealing with other people, we'll deal with them with knowing that that's going to happen. So our strategy has to take that into consideration. And this
Yeah.
is how creativity comes about. This is how owning the solution comes about. Because just like Joan didn't stop when she was rejected, and she went on and went on until she found someone who bought into her passion and her concern, is the same way we have to own the answers that we have. We have to own it. And even though the first door may be closed, even though one person
Yeah.
may laugh at you, you know
Yeah.
what you know, and you don't stop. You know, you
Yeah.
press forward because you have an answer that the world needs.
Yeah. Two things. I don't remember if it was the Alexander Graham Bell guy who was constantly failing, and somebody said to him, "Boy, you're not going to stop. Why you keep going?" He says, "Say you've done this 1,000 times." He said, "Yeah, and I know 1,000 ways not to do it anymore." You know, and then you also have a lot of successful entrepreneurs, and they will tell you that they got 50 no's before they got the first yes.
Yeah.
And so to your point is that yes, you may come up with a solution um, that you feel strongly about, but the truth is sometimes with the first person you go to, the first couple of people you go to, say, "What is that? That's foolishness," and they go, "Okay,
Yeah.
kind of,
This is
live
not
my
for
life."
me. This doesn't.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, that's not anything good. Is always an uphill
yeah,
journey. It doesn't. It's not gonna come
yeah,
easy. It's always an uphill journey.
yeah.
But as you mentioned, the no's, the rejections, the million ways that didn't work. We often scoff at those things, but that's valuable information.
Yes.
Even if I can't tell you what the answer is to your problem, I can also tell you, don't take this road.
Yeah.
And that is useful
That is
information.
valuable. Yeah.
Because when you get to a crossroads, you can say, oh no, I'm not gonna go there. You know, I was able to benefit from Jan's mistakes. You know, I knew that Jan told me that when she did that, it didn't work for her, so I don't go there. So the process of elimination is now
Mm-hmm.
helping you to find that golden road. So
Yeah.
it makes a difference. So the no's make a difference. The failures make a difference because now you can share. Again, we're going back to share because you can go through it. But if you're not going to open your mouth, if you're not willing to speak about it, then somebody else or the next generation is not going to benefit from what you've gone through. So you have to
Yeah.
open your mouth. You have to
Yeah.
share.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's why people write autobiographies or write their company stories so that they can share, and so we're encouraging you. Number one, use your pain for purpose. That's why you went through it, and that's why you actually made it through it,
Yeah.
and you did not die there, right? Um, you are an answer to somebody's problem, and that answer that you are is that thing that you are so passionate about, or you're so upset about, or you're so disgusted about. You are an answer. It's time we all got off our verandas. I don't know if we have verandas in Jamaica anymore, somewhat, but
Even little
we,
ones, yeah.
we need to get off our verandas and stop pointing over there and say they need to. Um, it's we need to. We are
We are the answer.
we are the answer.
We are the answer.
Yeah.
And we is made up of several means, and that's why you are an answer. You know, because in the we, it's a whole lot of us. And so individually, we are an answer, and we need to play our part in solving the problem. We don't need to even worry about how much you're going to dent the problem. That's irrelevant. I believe that how God works is that you play your part, right?
Hmm.
And then He will do the role. You know, when Moses
Yeah.
had to, when the people of the Israelites had to cross the Red Sea, who would have ever, nobody can part a Red Sea. But Moses still had to stretch the staff. Relatively
Hmm.
small action, but he had to do something. And when he stretched the staff, God did the rest. And that's how
Yeah.
he still works today. When we play
Yeah.
our part, he does the rest. So you may think that your answer is small. You may think that your prayer is a tiny little thing and it's not going to be anything. God takes the little and he multiplies. Again, 3 a 3 fish, 5 loaves and 2 fish. He
Mm-hmm.
took the little
Yeah.
and he multiplied it.
Multiplied it.
So your little matters in God's hands.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love it. I think you were talking earlier about another, um, and I suppose we've discussed it in some part, the whole thing, the power of synergy, of us all just coming together and working together on that problem.
Yeah, and yeah, so so we start with the mindset first. It's recognizing that we are a part of the solution and choosing to see things and approach things differently now. How it was
Mm-hmm.
yesterday is irrelevant, and this is like a 2 second change where you recognize, okay, this way of doing it is not helping anybody. I'm gonna change my approach now. And then once you have that mindset, your mind is now going to be preoccupied with, okay, what can I do now? Okay, I'm trying to solve this problem. All of a sudden, you begin to see things. What you focus on expands. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
focusing on finding solutions, then the solutions are going to become evident.
Yeah.
If you constantly focus on the problem, then the
The
problem is going to
bigger
become
it
bigger and
becomes.
bigger, and so will your headaches, your depression, right? Your frustration, your anger,
Mm-hmm.
your bitterness. So you have to
Yeah.
shift your focus. And once you
It's
shift your
true.
focus, God is faithful to help you to open up that so that you will get the answers and the solution. But it starts with you deciding, I'm a part of this answer. I have to change right where I am. And then the synergy really is the coming together of all of us having that posture. And all of us don't need to do it. We just need few persons to start because it only takes a spark to get the fire
Yeah.
going, right?
Yep.
Right? And
Yep.
sometimes
Yep.
it's only you, but it makes a difference even if it's just you alone. Play your part, be an
Yeah.
answer exactly where you are. Attend to
Yeah.
the things that you see, you feel, you experience. Don't leave it. Don't complain about it. Don't bury it. Shift your focus and say, all right, how can I ensure that somebody else gets some of the information and the lessons I've learned so that they don't have to go through all the pitfalls I went through. They don't have to experience all the negative emotions I went through. How can I help somebody else? And that's the posture I want us to have. That's the posture we need to have. And this is how we will change our world little by little. This is how we're going to change the nation little by little. By just
Mm-hmm.
one person at a time making a difference. One person at a time recognizing I am an answer and deciding I'm going to play my part, even if I'm the only one doing it.
Yeah.
Because God is
And
faithful.
but here's the other thing. You see, when once you start doing it and you keep at it, you
Contagious.
actually attract other people to
Contagious.
you.
Yes.
Yeah. You people look and you say, you know, I've always had that issue too. And look at this person doing something great. I wonder if I can join. I wonder if I can do this or. And so you pull people in when you decide to go down this road and solve this problem.
Yeah. And I want to also sprinkle that with the hope because when we try to reason it out with human thinking, it
Mm-hmm.
really is going to seem like a drop in the bucket and it seems like it's just not worth it. But I just want to remind us that God is everywhere and He is in everything. And when you play your little part, I have to say it again, He is faithful to intervene. So you don't have to worry about the impact. He's the one who grants the increase, He's
Right.
the one who deals with the impact. You just need to do your little part and then He will do the rest. Right?
I
So that
think
hope.
about I think about the mustard seed.
Yeah. Faith as small
You
as a
know,
mustard seed.
as small as a mustard seed, right? And God says that if we have faith as little bit as a mustard seed, we can move mountains. And it's the same thing. No matter how little we think that thing is, we can move mountains through God. He says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens
Strengthens me.
me.
Yes.
And so no matter how little you perceive, and so one of the things I think is that we can't box God in. We can't box him in through our limited lens. We just have to play our part. We have to step up and be the answer. And as long as we are the answer, we just keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let me tell you, to be very honest, this walk that I'm on now was not an easy walk because I stopped and started several times. Because I said, well, it's not working. Because it didn't look in my limited eyes like it was working.
Like it will make sense. Yeah.
Like it don't make sense. It's like,
Yeah.
Janice, come on, that's not practical. That doesn't make sense. But you know what happened? One of the things that you do is that the people who are successful is that they're consistent and they persevere and they just keep going.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as an overnight success. There's like a 15-year success kind of thing. When somebody really started on this, whether it is a stop start journey, you look at the start, the actual start, it was 15 years ago,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but you only just noticed them in the last year.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that don't worry about being an overnight success. That's a fallacy.
Yeah.
You just have to just keep going, keep persevering, keep pushing through, being consistent and having faith that he who has begun something in you is faithful to take it
And
to
yeah. Sorry.
manifest.
Okay. We said we're keeping it real when we're having these conversations.
Right.
And another real aspect to it is sometimes God will allow our journey to be
Mm-hmm.
difficult, and there's a reason.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be prepared properly. There are things inside of us that needs to get out, and there are things
Yep.
that we've lost that needs to be restored. And that too is a
Right.
process. And so God will allow even that transition, that period of being the answer, solving the problem, coming up with strategies to be a little bit challenging for us because he's training us and preparing us and making us ready for a point in time when we're going to do dynamite work.
Yeah.
And so it is
Absolutely.
pressing through those moments also, because this is the real part of it. We had a session where we were talking about answering the call and the real
Yeah.
deal on answering the call, but this is a part of it too. In
Yeah.
answering, being the answer, there's a real aspect to it where it's not smooth sailing. As you shared, Joan took what, 15 years?
13 years.
13 years before, and many of us can tell you it's not smooth. My process is not smooth, and it still hasn't gotten to the place so that I can say I'm comfortable and I'm happy with it. But what I now know is that throughout the process my character is changing, my strategies are being improved, I am being transformed, and I'm going to be more effective at solving problems as I go along. So while I'm
Yeah.
pursuing being an answer, I am also being prepared to be a perfect answer. So you have
Yeah.
to trust that
Absolutely.
process.
Yeah. Yeah. And a good part of that process is, I would say, never walk the journey alone. You
Yes.
may feel alone and you may feel actually like you want to pull back because you're ashamed. This was, I mean, when you think about it, especially if you think back to maybe high school days, you were the student who was likely to go out there and just do wonderful things. Yet here you are in this pit and
Yeah.
you stop and you just want to go hide. But it's always good to have someone who can walk alongside you and pull you up when you feel like not going anymore, you know, who can pull you out of hiding or come and sit beside you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's always important to have someone there with you who can help you. It is really, really important. I mean, I think about it now, the things that I've learned now, and the times when I've chosen to be alone and to hide. Um, I think maybe. if I didn't choose that way, that maybe I would have been further along, And so it's even somebody to help to speak to your mind and what you're thinking and how you're thinking and what you're exposing yourself to at that point.
Yeah.
Um, so some of us stay in the pit longer than we need to because we believe the lies of the enemy that say, "Or you know what? Don't tell nobody. You know what? Nobody knows." Say,
We believe the lies of the
people
enemy
will
that say,
say all kinds of things, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You want to hide because of the judgment or the eyes of man, because you're ashamed.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you're talking, it just dawned on me. We're not just only the answer to the problems we see. We are the answer to our own problems too. And we use the word intentionality, taking responsibility. Um, you recognize where you are. You recognize that you don't have all the answers. You recognize that the shame is coming on, the guilt is coming on. You are being drawn into isolation, but with the isolation, joy doesn't come and peace doesn't come. Instead, depression comes. So
Yeah,
that is a red flag to tell you, okay, I'm not going in the right direction. When you see that, that's a problem you recognize. It's a personal problem, but you can also recognize that's a problem. The fact that I can see it and pick it up, it means that there's an answer I already have. And you have to
right.
come out of yourself and say, well, if it means I need to find that person who can help me, it don't mean you find a person because every person can help you. But finding the person who either has been on this journey already, who is wise and sound, in their judgment, even if they can't relate to your situation. You are finding that person because now you have to be an answer even to your own problems. You have to be self motivated. You have to be what I call a self leader, where you're going to take the action that you need to put yourself in a better position to help you improve your own well-being, to ensure that you don't lose your own gifting and talent and strength. So you also have to be an answer for even the issues that you're seeing. If you recognize that you need help, get the help. If you recognize that you don't know enough, start Googling, start doing some research. Don't just throw
Yeah,
it down. Don't complain. Don't let go. You have to do something. You are an answer machine.
yeah.
You
You
are
have
a
everything
answer
you need.
machine. An answer machine. You know.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Anybody has
So
any questions?
I just see lots of agreement here.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a real mindset change. And I'm hoping that as you hear, guys, you don't need the crowd. You really don't. But bear in mind, you're not alone. Jan and I are doing it. And the Lord worked it out that Jan and I became closer. And then we recognized we
Yeah,
had so much in common. So now we are
yeah,
encouraging each other on the journey. Your person is there. But once you open your eyes and you're looking for it, it's going to come. Once you have
yeah.
a posture that says, no, my help is out there, my answer is out there, and you start looking, it is going to come.
It's gonna show itself.
It's going to show itself at the right time.
Definitely going to show itself. Definitely, it's definitely going to show itself. So I encourage you, if you are right now in the midst of what you consider your mess, your pain, your shame, don't stay alone. Look out for. If you are, so caught up with a problem, or disgusted by something, chances are you are an answer to that.
You are. You are.
Start asking questions about how you can be a solution.
Yeah.
You know, there's no one. You're never made for yourself. We're made to live in community, and community says, "I serve you, you serve me." That's how community works, right? We were never meant to do this isolation thing. And if you check people who are like that, they're never happy.
Never. Like,
Never
even if
happy.
they have, oh my gosh, even if they end up having so much resources, getting so much money from being, very selfish and very even, unrighteous in their business dealings, they lose something else more valuable.
Yeah.
They lose the most important parts. They lose virtue. They lose peace. And those things are priceless, you know.
Priceless.
They are priceless. But we on the outside may look and say, oh my God, them drive the nicest car, live in the nicest house, think life is good. Don't be fooled. You know, life is
Yeah.
good when they
Because it's
have
behind
those
closed
things, but
doors.
they also have the peace. They have that drive. You know, they have that joy in their lives. They're living in purpose. They're helping people. That's the successful life. It's not the assets
Yeah.
only.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, guys, thanks for coming by. We absolutely enjoyed having you, and we hope this conversation impacted you. And if you are someone um, is any in any of these situations that we described this evening, feel free to reach out to us. Feel free to have a conversation, or just look for someone, you're someone who can help you to figure things out.
Yeah.
Um, Also, start looking for solutions to the things that hurt your heart,
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
solution is already in you.
Yeah. It's
Ask,
there.
ask God, God, why is this thing so in my face? What am I to do about this? It hurts my heart,
Help me.
Lord.
Guide me. Yeah.
Help me figure out how I can be a solution, or
Yeah.
how I am the solution.
Right.
I am the answer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thanks for coming by.
Jan,
Uh,
this is session number 6, right?
what?
I didn't realize we have one more session.
Oh, really? Wow,
Yes.
I thought you said you had another one to add to it. I enjoyed this
Oh well,
one.
maybe we do. Maybe that's a surprise.
There could be. Yeah. Okay. So, guys, same time, same place next week.
Yes.
Um, just drop it in your calendar somewhere. And join us here next week at 7 o'clock, where we're gonna discuss something equally interesting.
Equally interesting.
So be blessed and be safe.
Yes. Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Have a good evening.